Everyone, it's Emily Fox. Today's video is going to be a new addition to my end of the year series. So basically, this is the time of the year where I look back at my year, all the 100 books that I've read during the year, and I tell you the best, the worst, the most surprising, the most disappointing. But today, we're going to be talking about the books that I DNF'd, aka I did not finish. And these are specifically the ones I will not be picking up again. Like, I'm done, because sometimes I do put a book down and then, a few days, weeks, months, years actually, end up finishing them, So this time, those are the ones that I'm definitely never finishing. I am done with them. And I have to say, I'm kind of proud of myself because I am doing this more frequently, which is good because so many books, so little time. And also, I only own one of these as a physical copy. No, actually two. Okay, I almost lied. With that said, I feel like I've been really good at using my library. I do buy most of my books used, but still, I gotta use your library. Definitely recommend doing the same thing. So let's go through them because I do have quite a few. There is only one other book that I didn't finish that made it to a different category, so I didn't want to repeat it. But yes, those are the 10 and 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 books that I'm officially never going to finish. Let's start with the least surprising one here, the Kink Ocean. It is a romance book that I had to read during my Goodreads reading challenge. If you don't know, I'm doing every year this challenge where I read the winners and some runner-ups in most categories from the Goodreads Choice Award. And in the category romance, this was the winner, and I hate romance. I had decided to attempt it just because of the representation and the hype, really, and I couldn't do it. I really tried. I really did. I actually got it as an audiobook thinking I just moved. I have so much painting and unpacking to do. I can easily just listen to it and not fully focus if I can't deal, so it's going to be doable. It wasn't. Maybe the audiobook wasn't the best way of doing it, but the first time I actually attempted it, I had to put it down without even finishing the first chapter, like half an hour, because of the cringe. I did push a little further. I read a few chapters, but I couldn't deal with it because of, I feel like it's very common in romances, I guess. A lot of physical descriptions and just, quite frankly, in some of these, I will not have proper reasoning. It's just going to be a couldn't deal with it. We're moving on, never attempting this ever again. And that's kind of how I am with this one. I really wanted to enjoy it because the main character is on the spectrum. It's not something we see often in books, so representation is great. But yeah, the romance just started annoying me after, just a few chapters and not even. I just didn't think it was going to be worth forcing myself. It wasn't going to be something that was worth the torture, I guess. So yes, this is my first official will never finish book of 2019. Growing Things by Potamus. This is a short story collection of horror little stories, and I love horror. I don't feel like I read enough of it because they can be quite hit and miss, really, and I don't really find myself being scared or anything. But I thought, short stories, sometimes it's almost better that way because they don't have to stretch the story to, make it a full book. And I thought short story collection, I'm gonna get a bunch for sure. A few of these are gonna be something I connect with. I did actually get it from my library as an audiobook. It's something, once again, you're gonna notice a pattern here, simply because my library waiting list is shorter for audiobooks, so I tend to just do that. And wow, did I not care. I had to start again a few of these multiple times because I realized I wasn't listening. And I know it's something a lot of people have issues with audiobooks, but I listen to so many and it never happens to me, like ever. And I had to slow down the speed. I tried multiple times the same ones and I just kept not listening. And I just really didn't care. And that is just so weird for me to say these things because that's usually not an issue at all. But yes, I couldn't finish it. I listened to a couple of them and then some of them I was bored, so I would, start the next one just in the hope that it was going to get better. And it didn't. The only one I remember is actually the one called Growing Things. And it was weird. It was horror-ish, but yeah, I can't say that it was worth going through the repeating 10 times and everything. So I couldn't finish it. I was really hoping I would. If you have actually read this short story collection, definitely let us know your favorite ones just to let other people know which one might be worth it. But yes, I am officially done. I've had an actually complicated relationship with the author, generally speaking. This is my second book by him, and I have one more on my shelves, and I enjoyed his ideas more than the executions. I feel like his longer book that I had finished, Cabin in the Underworld, the ending was probably the weakest point, although the premise was super intriguing. But yeah, like I said, I have one more book by him that I will attempt, A Head Full of Ghosts, I think, and I'll read that one, and if I don't like it, I might just give up on the author altogether. But yes, I could not finish Growing Things. I was excited, but you know, no. You know what? Let's go with one of the physical ones that I have, because why the hell not? I have been reading a lot of Stephen King books as an attempt to read them all, which is probably never gonna happen because clearly he's a robot coming out with 10 books a year, and I can't. But I've been reading some of his books and also some of his sons, including Joe Hill. This is Nosferatu, which I had seen everywhere, and a lot of people were saying that this was a great book to read during the holidays and everything, because it happens in, well, there's Christmas land in there. And it was actually part of my big book reading challenge, where I was attempting to read a bunch of big books, basically books with over 500 pages. And this was one of the ones I wanted to read during this time of the year. And I started kind of early, actually. I think October instead of like November, December. And did I struggle? I started with the physical copy, then I got the audiobook from my library to, you know, try to push myself to finish it, because again, it's just an easy way for me to finish books when I can't get into them. I technically finished it, but not really. Like I would, you know, I just really did not care. I liked some bits of it, some ideas of it, but it was just one of those books that you're going through it and you're like, what's the point? I didn't find it scary, and I don't know, I guess I just got tired of the whole like trope of kids and monsters, and just didn't care, which I guess is probably why you put down a lot of books in general. But yeah, Nosferatu is just not for me. I don't care, will never finish it. I would be curious actually to hear what other people have to say about it. I believe this became a TV show, and I've been thinking about watching an episode or two just to see, but like after not finishing the book and really not giving a shit, I'm struggling to force myself to do that. But again, if you have watched a TV show, you can let me know if it's worth it or not. But so many other books I want to read instead, or TV show to watch, really. Ooh, this is the most recent one, I believe. Where the Crawdads Thing. I had wanted to read this because it was everywhere, and I feel like it's very common for a lot of like literary fiction, whatever that comes out, that are recent reads. I feel like you see them in magazines, on the internet, in articles, and then you see them on Goodreads, and then some people read them on BookTube. And this was like the new hit, and so many freaking people read this book. Actually, let me double check, because it was ridiculous. That's why I decided to pick it up, because the waiting list on my library, once again, was ridiculously long, like 6+ months, which that happens way too often. Even the audiobook, there was like 200-300 people at least before me, so I waited so long to read it. And then when I got to it, I just did not give a Over 450,000 people read this book or rated it on Goodreads. That only happens when a book goes like viral-ish or like best-selling-ish on the internet. That doesn't happen often, and it was published in 2018. So that was basically the reason I wanted to read it, the hype. I realized that there was a bunch of neglect for a child, and I have read a bunch of books with rough childhoods and kids being abused, and there's only so many I can read in a year, and I have read some really great ones, well, at least one really great one in the beginning of the year, and then I just hit my quota. And then when I realized that I was kind of the team for the beginning, I was just like, so yeah, that plus the mix that I just really didn't seem to care, but it's very hyped. Everyone seemed to love it. So again, feel free to tell me no, because it's the only one that I was kind of hesitating about finishing, but I don't think I will because of that. I just can't deal at this point. Watching You by Lisa Jewell. This one is a funny story. I was starting to listen to it once again as an audiobook. It is a mystery thriller and about people, you know, watching Neighbors and everything, which is a theme I actually do enjoy. And then I realized I kind of had a feeling I had read something else by the author, and looked back and realized that last year, actually, I put down the book I was reading by her because I didn't really care. It got returned to the library and just never really cared to finish it. And then, yeah, I realized that, haha, same author, and I still don't care. So it's one of those situations that was kind of weird. I can't even pinpoint exactly what was wrong in it. It just, you know, when something just rubs you the wrong way, that's literally the best way to describe it. It just felt kind of icky while reading it, which again is weird description, but that's just how I felt. And I just didn't care to finish it. I put it down, I think, at 13%. So I usually would not even talk about a book like that because, you know, I just barely read any, but I thought it was worth mentioning because I did not finish it, will not finish it, and won't read more by the author because 2 out of 2, that's kind of a sign that it's not for me. So yeah, I don't know why. Yeah. Such descriptions, Emily. Speaking of books that I DNF'd incredibly fast, which again, it sounds like I'm doing this a lot because I will mention a bunch in this video, but usually I try to force myself to at least get to 50% of the book to really have an idea, unless, you know, I really hate them. But in this case, it's more that I just really didn't care, which is, again, weird on its own. But Disappearing Earth, which I offended people by calling this magical realism because it's not, but it's kind of a running gag here that everything I don't like that sounds a bit, ooh, in the nature, and sometimes there's magic, and it's just very vague and soft and like fairy tale-ish, whatever. I hate it, and I call it magical realism, which it's not. Again, I know. I believe this one is considered a mystery. Let me just check. Yes, I believe this one is considered a mystery, kind of historical type of book that happens in Russia. And I was getting vibes of that other one written by, is it Catherine Arden? Exactly. I was getting vibes of The Bear and the Nightingale, which is the first book in the Winter Night trilogy that has been getting so much hype. So if you like one, you might like the other, but I kind of just jammed them all in the magical realism category, which again, they're not, but they are in my heart and my brain, and this is how I'm reviewing this. I mean, do you really know how to describe why you're putting down a book when you put it down? Because sometimes you just don't, clearly. So did not finish it, will not finish it. Don't care how many people like it, I don't. Okay, let's go to the other physical book I wanted to talk about. I am 95% sure I will not be finishing the Raven Cycle series, which I had given myself the goal/challenge to read them all this summer. I read the first 3 and then gave up. This is a very popular YA contemporary fantasy type of book, and I had read the first one once 2 years ago, I think 2-3 years ago, and I was kind of mad about the whole thing. I was like, I don't really get the hype, but whatever. But then I really wanted to read all of them because my friend gifted to me all 3 other ones, and I was like, this is the time, this is the way. So baby Yoda, I just couldn't do it. I liked them less and less as I was going through it. I did ship some characters. You know what? This is what happens. I like the characters. I care about them. I like the world building. I do like the magic system. I wish there was more about it. I actually really care about the family of Blue, whatever, her like haunt and everything. Love them. I want the whole book to be about them. But I really did not care about the story. When things got weirder and weirder, it was just like, man, this isn't going anywhere I'm interested in, so I never finished it. Part of me still kind of wants to finish it, but realistically, I should just DNF the whole thing and give up on this YA fantasy series because I will never get the hype, clearly. But again, I say that often actually about books that are more, not necessarily character driven, but that people get attached to characters because it takes me a lot to care, and I just cared a bit, but not enough to compensate for the lack of story. But I wouldn't mind actually like watching a TV show or something about the characters. The revenge of the books. Apparemment c'est réciproque. So apparently we don't like each other, and it goes both ways. So we'll not be finishing the Raven Cycle. We'll be probably unhauled in a different unhaul video and gifted to someone else that will probably love them more than I did. So one other thing that I really didn't care about is Potamus, I think. It's a sci-fi YA, I think, series. The second book just came out, and it was not something I really cared about. I tried to read this 3 times, which kind of proves my point that I usually try and really force myself, because some books, you know, it takes a while for them to actually start, and especially if it's a debut author, for example, like I give them more of a chance. And again, 3 times, and I don't think I went past 30% because every time I would be like, cannot deal. I tried the audiobook, the physical book, I tried everything, and I just could not manage to force myself. And again, I love sci-fi, but yeah, like humans, robots, could not even remember most of the things that I've read at this point, so will not finish it. I tried so hard. Oh, and last but not least, I finished it-ish, but not really. This is why I'm just admitting it to myself. Did not really count. The most fun we ever had, which was not, but really not the most fun I've ever had. I skimmed past through bits, and I was listening again to it as an audiobook, and I just caught myself being like, oh, next chapter, because I don't care. We're just being very honest here. I just really didn't care about this story. This is a contemporary-ish story, maybe historical fiction, I don't know. You're following a family, and there's a lot of back and forth between the parents and then the kids nowadays. They have 4 daughters, I believe, and then, you know, it's just a shit show. Everyone has issues, and that's kind of just what you're following. But I did not really care. Actually, scratch that. I really did not care. You know what? I have complicated feelings in general with those literary fiction, new contemporary adult ones that seem to be everywhere every time they come out. And I always attempt a couple because once in a while I will find one that I absolutely adore, and I feel like it kind of compensates for all the ones that I like, meh, whatever. But this one was just really not worth the hype for me. I just don't get it. But if you like those like slice of life type of book, maybe you will enjoy it, but I just didn't. I feel like this was kind of a very negative video, but I mean, at the end of the day, if you don't finish a book, it's because you really don't care about it. So this is what it is. Definitely will be linking the other ones that I've done about, you know, the best, the most surprising, but also the most intense ones about my worst and most disappointing books. They get very, like, I get really like pumped when I have like proper reasons to hate a book, but in, you know, in these cases, it's definitely more of a mess situation. So less to say, but still wanted to just mention these to actually hear what you thought about them, because do you hate them? Do you love them? Am I making the biggest mistake in the world? You let me know. But again, I will link everything down below for my end of the year series. Definitely recommend you check out those books videos. And yeah, thumbs up, subscribe, because once again, I'm not fully done, and we are starting all the challenges very soon for 2020. I am like dying to talk about all these things, so it's gonna happen very, very soon. And again, I will be putting more videos on the screen that I recommend you check out, and I will see you in my next one very soon. Bye. Honestly, the books throwing themselves at the floor is very dramatic.